So today I opened up Instagram and I got a message which was quite different. So it says, do you want to see likes on posts? And it says, choose whether you can see like counts on people's posts. You can always change this later on in your settings. Okay. Now this is interesting because around 2 years ago, I think it was 2019, you may or may not have heard that Instagram had rolled out this trial, should we say, on only certain accounts where they were not displaying the total like counts on people's images. Now, if you want to look at your own, you can tap more and it kind of shows you. It's super annoying. I found it super annoying. Now, unfortunately, I was a part of this trial involuntarily, right? I was just kind of, they just kind of picked accounts. And I thought that was really like annoying because give people a choice, right? You know? Now, I do understand some of the reasoning behind it. Apparently, it's about mental health and, you know, there is understandably a lot of pressure when it comes to likes, and a lot of people use likes as a way to either feel good or bad about themselves, because sometimes you post something, it doesn't get as many likes, it doesn't reach your minimum like threshold or whatever it is, and it brings you down and it has an effect on your mood and it can ruin your day and stuff like that. So I do get it from that point of view, but like for me, what was super annoying was because firstly, I didn't ask for this, right? Secondly, being a content creator, this is kind of my world, right? So I kind of have to see, like, especially when it comes to, you know, kind of assessing, okay, is my post doing well in comparison to somebody else? How can I improve this? Okay. Why hasn't this one got as many likes? Why has my other friend who's, you know, posted got this many likes when mine has this many likes, even though we've got similar audiences, right? And then that kind of, you know, would help me do better in terms of content, right? And that was something that was super annoying for me because sure, I could see my own likes, but I would have to go down, you know, a level to be able to see that anytime. I couldn't just see it at a glance, and I couldn't see anybody else's. So what I'd have to do is I'd have to kind of open an incognito window and then look at somebody's profile. That's how I'd be able to see. Because it wasn't like on that, it wasn't there. It was just on specific accounts. So I'm glad that they've got this now. But my message to Instagram is, why didn't you have that choice from the start? Like, you know, why rope people into it without asking them and then not have any way for them to opt out? Because there was no way for me to opt out. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean,
as I said, for me, I would want likes on there for those reasons that I mentioned. But also, you know, when we're looking at the influencer space, for example, right? There's a lot of influencers who, you know, that's their job. That's their primary job. And there's a lot of brands who look at engagement and likes, etc. on posts to be able to assess if they want to work with this person or not. Now, once you remove those, right, it actually makes it difficult for those brands to actually have a look as well and kind of see if this person has just bought a bunch of fake followers and doesn't actually have the likes and engagement that, you know, you would expect to have, because you can't see the counts at a glance and you might have to go through some of the hurdles to be able to do that. So in my opinion, I get it that for some people it could have, you know, mental health effects, but give people a choice, which you are doing now. Learn from this, and next time, don't just throw people in a trial without kind of asking them or giving them a way to come out of it.
Yeah, I agree with you on the trial thing. I mean, if you're going to be in a trial, you should pop up and say, hey, you've been selected for this trial. Would you like to opt in? If you opt in, you cannot do this, this, and this. I'm fine with that, because then at least you know what you're getting into. I mean, my thought process is, why did they even do this in the first place? Honestly, everybody should suck it up and just deal with the fact that you either have low likes or high likes, and that's pretty much it. And I'm not joking, guys. Seriously. I mean, yeah, and I do understand the idea of the mental effects and what it is. But I also think that, honestly, with stuff like that, we also should just keep it front facing. Because, I mean, I don't know, I grew up a certain way. So this is me projecting my own upbringing.
Exactly.
You know, like stuff like this is just not that serious. It never is. I mean, even though for work, it's serious for work for us, where we go, oh man, I mean, I need to get my numbers up. I don't like the way it's kind of slipping down, or, you know, what's going on. But again, when we do this, we always look at the statistics and we go, okay, I was posting constantly for 4 days. It was working, you know, for the last 3 months. And now I've kind of dropped down to 2 days. Maybe that's why. As opposed to the regular user who is going, oh, my likes are low. People don't like me. You have to understand that no one is looking at your content for that specific thing. They're looking at your content as being, oh, this is nice that showed up on my feed, as opposed to, oh, I'm going to SAF. Oh, I'm going to Border Work. Oh, it's The Rock. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going there. So it's. I think it should be there because people have to understand where they are placed, not in a bad way, as in, okay, I am here. This is where I am. Let me build from here. Whether it's build my my character as an individual or even build the status of my page. And I think, I think what they were trying to do was solve the problem or help solve the problem of the separation between your digital life and your physical life. The problem is that's not where it stems from. I think people just have to start getting to understand that the digital life is digital. I mean, yes, we've got really great fans. We've got people who we connect to across the world. But again, it's still not part of your day to day. It doesn't physically.
But this is the thing. I think this is a wider sort of issue with social media because you're saying because of your upbringing and for me based on my upbringing, right? I can kind of get over that. I mean, sure, I think Instagram and social media affects everybody psychologically to a certain extent, even if it's slightly, okay? Now, the thing is, when you are a teenager who's grown up with social media, okay, having likes and comments and stuff, it's part of what you have kind of been brought up with, right? So I kind of understand from their point of view that, it might actually have more of an impact on them, right? Which is the reason why, like, I always tell, like, any kids in my family, I'm like, you have to be 16 before you can be on social media, in my opinion. You don't have to agree with that, you can disagree. But in my opinion, after you're 16, you kind of have a bit more of an understanding. You're a little bit more mature, so you know what's real and what's not real, okay? Like, even myself and E, what you see online of us is probably 5% of our lives, right? Okay, maybe more. Let's say 10%, right? But the rest of it is stuff that we choose not to share, or we don't really want to share because, it's not something that's going to work in our field, right? So understanding that and having that base understanding that what you're seeing online is not always, it's not 100% real, kind of helps you not get into a point where you're going to be like bringing yourself down when it comes to likes and dislikes, right? Don't get me wrong, it still affects me to a certain extent, especially when it comes to like YouTube videos. If they don't get as many views as I'm hoping for, yeah, it's going to suck, right? But at the same time, I can kind of look past that. In the same way, you might see somebody, like I see a lot of people kind of see me and they're like, oh, you've got a Tesla, you're doing this, you're doing that. I wish I had your life. And I'm like, do not wish you had anybody else's life ever. Do not wish whoever it is that you see on TV, on social media, never ever wish that you have somebody's life because you have no idea what they might have going on in the background, which they don't choose to share, right? Yeah. And there is always that element of jealousy, which is going to come regardless, right? Even if it might be somebody that you really admire and, you're like, oh, this person's so awesome. If you see something that is human nature, right? You see something that somebody else doesn't have, you're going to want that, right? And it's just one of those things. So I think with social media, I kind of get where Instagram were coming from, and I think it was coming from a good place. I don't think the implementation was right, but my message generally, what I'm saying is, everybody has a bit of, with social media, it has a certain effect on pretty much everybody, some more than others. The baseline is that you always have to understand that what you see online is not 100% reality.
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that. When I went to get my second COVID shot yesterday, I was talking to the nurse and she asked me, it's like, what do I do? I'm like, I'm a YouTuber. And she started laughing. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, life must be great and easy. I was like, I'm very happy. I'm blessed, but it's a lot of work. And I also have been doing this for, 11, almost 12 years. And I explained to her some of just the work process. And because we connected because I used to work as a microbiologist years ago. So she's like, oh, so you're in the healthcare. I'm like, look, what you do is rough. And I understand that, but also what I do now is a very different type of work that for a lot of people, you just won't want to, people don't understand that we have to, besides what we show, we have to answer your comments. Now think about it on a magnifying scale, right? I say you take me, I may get like 5,000 comments a day. SAF gets a multiplication of 5 on top of that, right? So and then you move on to anyone who goes higher and higher in numbers, you're just getting more and more. And you always want to connect and try and, connect with your audiences. That's just commenting. We've all seen the images on YouTubers showing their inboxes on just emails. Handling emails is such a thing that it's simple, but then when you start looking at it, sometimes I will start an email, I'll look at it, and I'm like, nah, I'm just going to take a break because I just need
it's a lot of work. No, I mean, and on the face of it, again, we're talking about a few of these things, and to some people, it'll be like, oh yeah, you guys are just like, complaining about. It's not complaining necessarily. It's just that what we're trying to say is what you see online is a very small portion. I have had a lot of. I've worked in the TV video repair shop. I've worked in a call center. I've worked in supermarkets stacking shelves. I've been a wedding photographer. I've done a lot of things in my life, okay? Mm-hmm. Being a YouTuber, content creator, whatever you want to call us, by far is the most challenging, most draining, and most just stressful job that I have ever done, right? And I said I've done multiple jobs in my time. There's nothing that actually comes to this point, right? Which is why I always emphasize this. I try to emphasize this as much as I can on social media without sounding like, oh, this privileged person is just complaining. It's not necessarily complaining. It's just that I'm trying to share the reality, somewhat of the reality of the situation. So when you're aspiring to be somebody or somewhere, just know that, look, it is going to come with challenges, right? I used to be, oh man, I think we're going to talk about this at some other point. But the whole hustle porn thing, I can't believe I was roped into all of that. And I was like, yeah, everybody work hard, do this, And it's just like, when I look back and I'm like, man, I just came across as such an idiot. It's just like, you can hustle as hard as you want, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But this whole culture of, oh yeah, hustle. You could do. It's just like, I cringe so much when I see this nowadays, and people are just sharing all these quotes and stuff. It's like, look, you do you, right? Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's thing's different. Yes, you got to work hard, and if you don't work hard, you're not going to get nowhere, and you're not going to get the success that you want, right? But also, everybody's different. Everybody has their own struggles and challenges, and everybody's going to deal with those differently. Exactly. So you have to kind of work out what your challenges, what your balance is as well, right? And work towards that, basically. So look at everybody's situations. You look at your situation individually. Sure, get inspired by other people, right? Get inspired by them, learn from them, but don't try to replicate or be exactly what somebody else is doing, because it's not what it seems.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man.
Okay, that went a little bit deep, but I think that was it's good to kind of highlight a few things like this. There's other topics that I want to cover on the podcast going forward. Kind of discussing some of these Instagram versus reality topics, but we'll save those for some future episodes. I hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to hear the full podcast episode, then that will be linked down below. And if you want to see more clips like this, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss them. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf Speaks, and I'll see you next time.